Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Jamin's Daily. We have a great guest with us today who I think is going to give us some information on things that you're interested in or that's relevant right now because of the whole freeze that we just had. So I have on with us today Jonathan Morales, your independent solar energy consultant. And let's see. I think I have him off mute. I think you need to unmute yourself, Jonathan. Got it?
There we go. Can you hear
There
me?
we go. Thanks for joining
Yes, sir.
us. I know you're a
Absolutely.
busy
Thanks for having me
man.
on.
Thanks for joining us because, solar energy is this. People see, I drove down the road. I was dropping off my kid at school today. And on the way, I was driving through on Wooldridge through the country club. And just a particular now, because it's in my mind, solar energy and panels, whenever I'm driving and I see a house with solar panels, it immediately grabs my attention, and you're seeing more and more of it. So I really appreciate you joining us today
Yeah.
to kind of enlighten it, because I think everybody has an idea of what solar energy is or what solar panels are, but everybody has like this very surface level knowledge on
Understanding of it. Yeah.
understanding of it. Right? And I feel like
Understood.
just someone like yourself who could really educate them, they'd realize that all the the advantages of it. And I think now is a perfect time, considering the freeze that we had, people losing
hmm
their energy, uh, the cost of energy likely going up. So you want to be able to supplement what you're having to already purchase from the grid, right?
hmm
So all these things I think, are factors that are going on right now, and hopefully you can elaborate on how long have you been working as a solar energy consultant?
Well, actually, tomorrow it'll be exactly 1 year since I joined Power as a solar consultant. I've been researching it for probably 3 years prior, at least since I moved to San Antonio.
Uh-huh.
So in San Antonio, Texas, it's a huge market over there, and it's just grown exponentially over the last 3 years. So roughly when I'm from Corpus, just FYI, if everybody doesn't know, both went to Ray High School, right?
Yeah, we're from, yeah, we know
Um,
that.
'04, I know, but '02, right?
O2.
Right. Okay. Okay. So when we moved to San Antonio, we had been in an apartment and moved for job purposes all the way over there. And then when we finally bought a house, started noticing solar on people's roofs, maybe one or two houses. And this was maybe 2016. And then probably by the end of 2016, you started seeing 3, 4 houses have them. And it's just started growing tremendously for residential. And in my research, what many people don't know, solar has been around since the 70s. I mean, you think about NASA. I mean, one thing people don't realize is satellites, right?
Mhm.
You look at up in space. How are they getting their power? You see the panels on there, but many people don't realize how long solar has actually been available, or I should say, the technology's been there. But I think over the
Sure.
last 8 years, I think it's been becoming more cost efficient, and now it's available for residential purchase now.
I think a great analogy is this. I remember going back in time, how you're talking about, so the technology has been there,
hmm
for decades.
hmm
But like everything else, when the technology first comes out, it's expensive, and it's, a lot of times utilized by the government, military, satellites, things like this, right? And it takes a while
hmm
for it to trickle down to the consumer market. And then once
Correct.
it gets there, I can remember when I bought my first big screen TV after I uh, finished school, moved back to Corpus in 2007, and I bought
hmm
I think it was only like a 50-inch too, and it was like $1,000. And it was big and
Was
heavy.
it
I
a
mean, it was a
flat
flat
screen
screen
or
back then.
it was a projection screen?
No,
Was
no,
it
it was a normal
with the big
flat
box of that?
screen, but
Okay,
flat screens now, they are like this thin. It was a flat screen,
correct.
and it was still kind of big and heavy.
hmm
And I think I paid $1,000 for it. Now you can go to Walmart and buy a 60-inch TV for like $500.
Correct.
The technology hasn't changed. It's just that now, over time, it becomes more affordable because the technology gets better and they find cheaper ways of manufacturing it, I guess. And so that's what I'm interested in, because I know that's always, unfortunately, being in sales, price point. Okay.
Mhm.
I think one of the things people, I would say the two factors, at least for myself, so I want to put words in people's mouth, but I think
Correct. Okay.
others share the concern is always going to be, one is, the cost. And then two is like the maintenance and how easily
Mhm.
are they damaged. That's always the two thoughts on that. And, can you enlighten
Sure. I'll
us?
go over that.
Yeah.
So as far as cost wise, right? So the idea is to build you a system that's going to offset your current energy usage. So usually we ask for a copy of your electric bill. Everyone's energy usage is different, which is going to also determine your roof line, right? So depending on how much roof space you have, depending on how many panels are going to be required and the wattage on the panels, similar to, think of it like a car, right? A car is going to take you on four tires anywhere you need to go, but is a four cylinder going to pull the load that you need, or do you need a dually or a high V8 V10 to pull what you need, right?
Mhm.
That's the same crap, right? It's on four wheels. It's going to get you to your point, but what's going to be easier and do the job that you need for your home, right? So you look at a couple things here too, as far as the terms. So there's zero down now. So I think that's been implemented over the last 2 years, where there's no down payment required. And the idea is to take your current energy bill and then drop it. So technically you're replacing one payment for the next. It's not like you're going to have one large solar payment and then one large utility bill.
Mhm.
So it's just like offsetting that, moving that to full, just like filling up your gas tank in a sense, right? You're going to keep it going to full until you can max out your roof or get close to it on what your home is going to need to produce. So with the terms, there's two large companies that we use in our platform. One is Sunlight, and the other one is Loan Pal. They're the two largest loan companies for solar in the industry. And depending on what the consumer wants, there's different terms. There's 7 years, 10 years, 15,
So you
20,
have, it's
25.
kind of like, Jonathan, so at this point, when you're consulting with somebody, you can offer kind of like
Mhm.
a turnkey kind of service where you're going to help them
Yeah,
get financed. Y'all work with these large
absolutely.
financial companies who
Hmm.
specialize in providing loans for solar
Correct.
investments.
Hmm.
That's all. And then, like you said, so and now they're implementing different kinds of, just like you said, buying a car. Hey, come buy a new car, no money down, kind of thing. So they have all these different incentives, I guess,
Correct.
to try to get to offset some of that onboarding or that initial cost to the consumer. Is that
Yeah,
right?
correct. Because I would say maybe 5 years ago, I think that was, I still get the question asked consistently, Jonathan, what do I have to put down? Nothing. You just have to have a minimal of a 650 FICO credit score. Okay.
Okay.
That's all you really need for zero down. So there's no down payment ever required. That's one of the first questions I get all the time as far as the cost. Okay. The other incentive right now for solar is the federal tax credit. Okay. So I know people look at up the form as a 5695. It's a federal incentive. It's a credit. Right now, this year, it's 26% of the entire cost of the system. That was just recently extended. I think by the last, I think it was a stimulus package that was sent
Mhm.
last, maybe November, December ish,
Okay.
because this year it was dropping down to 22%. So for the next 2 years, so just to clarify, 2021 and 2022, you get a federal tax credit of 26% of the entire cost of the system, which also makes the system affordable. So the idea is to replace your electric bill with a solar payment at a reduced cost, trying to pay less than what you're averaging right now.
Mhm.
And with the ultimate goal of paying it off. There's an end goal. That's what the biggest misconception about solar is. You pay it off. There's an end goal. You avoid inflation. So not many people look at their bill, dissect it regularly. They just pay it, right? Just like everything else. We've been paying rent, mortgage, water, electricity since you've been on your own. And whenever that could be 16, could be 17, 18 years old, time you're an adult, right? And you're going to continue to pay that the rest of your life, right? So if you can buy into a product similar to a home where you're going to eventually pay it off, you have one of those things not to worry about when you come to a certain point in retirement, right?
Exactly. It hasn't been until recently, we've only homeowners, but any just property owners in general, people who need to power their facilities or their home,
Mm-hmm.
have never had, unless you own a windmill or something, you've never really had the opportunity to generate your own power and to capture it,
Correct.
right?
Exactly.
So this is what solar panels allow the consumer to do, is no longer just be, hey, the consumer from the grid or from some power company. Now you're a player in it, because now you're capturing your own, and you either use it yourself, or you can actually, people get paid. I mean, you can sell your excess to the power company sometimes.
Grid.
Is that how that
Yeah,
works?
that's called net metering. So all the systems we facilitate for are going to be your residential solar that are tied to the grid. Okay.
Okay.
So solar by itself is tied to the grid. So usually during the peak hours of the day, anywhere between 10 a.m. all the way till 3 to 4 p.m., depending on the area that you're located, right? Southern you are, the more sun you get on your roof, you're producing way more energy than your home is using. So it's there's a meter on there that reads the meter backwards. So instead of reading what you're pulling from the grid, it's reading what you're setting back. And that's how the electric company counts your credits. Okay. So at night, when the sun goes down, it's a trade. Whatever they buy from you, you're pulling back. So it's almost like a trade off. So
Correct.
the idea also is you produce more than you use. Yeah, you're going to see some credits on your bill. And in the AEP market, which covers majority of South Texas, so everyone is on AEP in the South Texas market. I think anywhere below Pleasanton of 37 South is AEP Central, which many people have. Green Mountain Energy, Reliant, Stream. Those are just a few of the top ones that we utilize for net metering programming. But yeah, essentially, yes. Now, the other option, just to go back what you just mentioned also, is storing that energy, right? So solar by itself sends it to the grid. Now, if you want something to help you out in an outage, there's the battery backup. Okay. You do need solar plus a battery backup. And determining on what you want, you may need 1, 2, 3 batteries, depending on what you need for that. That's going to help you in the event of an outage like what we experienced a week and a half ago.
And that's just an added cost. That's just an added feature, an added product that you can add to the panels. If you also, in addition to that, want to have battery backup, that's something that's available.
Correct. Yes. So you will need it if that's your goal, is not to be in an outage situation, to where you can have a battery similar to the way a generator works, but it's more seamless. Obviously, you don't have the noise. You don't have to tie it to a gas line or pump gas in the garage and have that thing going full blast. But the battery will store the energy and it's reused daily. So it'll help you also with your net metering costs, as well as help you in an added situation for certain circuits. So that's one of the things that usually people ask me, just solar by itself, if the grid goes down, it goes down with it. Okay.
Yeah.
With the battery backup, depending on how many batteries you have, it's going to facilitate certain circuits for your home, and that's going to help keep the lights on. Okay.
Sure. Or
but the idea of solar by itself,
be on, your refrigerator.
Exactly.
Yeah. And
exactly.
I like you mentioned, people have different goals when you're consulting them on their, and you said people's energy usage is different from one household to the next. And one of what I'm looking at for personally is, it would be nice to have enough panels to where it just took my bill to zero, right? I'm producing enough energy to cover my actual usage. But at times I'm thinking like in the future, I'm thinking 10, 15, 20 years out on what I'm assuming energy costs are going to be. And the home I live in, which is not a newly built, it's like 2,000 square feet, but it was built in the 1970s. It has a vaulted ceiling. We just did new insulation, but still, it's $400 plus energy bill in the summer, right? Because there's someone always home. The AC is on like 24/7 from March until what the weather's like, right? So
absolutely.
I don't even know if I had the enough roof space, but at this point, I'm not even trying to eliminate my bill. I'm trying to subsidize it heavily.
Correct.
Right. Correct. So I want to be able to add panels that is, maybe doing at least 20, 30, 40% of my usage, and it's knocking out 20, 30, 40% of my bill. And so it's paying for itself. Like you said,
absolutely.
An investment. And that would lead me to my to the question again, I think one of the largest concerns for the consumer is, okay, so then in time, this works out, we pay it off, and then now I'm just ahead. Now I'm playing with house money, right? Because I'm ahead, right?
Correct.
Uh,
Hmm.
and it's like paying off a car. You pay off a car, the longer you keep it on the road and you drive it, you don't have that car payment, you're kind of ahead, right? But it's only a lot of people, as soon as they pay off that car, they look at that new car and like, oh man, I want a new car. And then they find themselves with another car payment, right?
Hmm.
But if the car treats you good, I guess what I'm asking about the panels. If it takes me 7-10 years to pay off the panels, what is
Hmm.
the shelf life of them after that too? Because it takes me 10 years to pay them off, and then in year 11, I'm not saying they're going to break, but then there's some heavy maintenance costs to bring them back up to par because, hey, it's been 11 years or something. That's what I'd love to hear. Where
Correct.
are we
Yeah.
at in 2021 on the solar panel in that regard?
Okay. So solar panels are graded in tiers. Okay. Starting from the best is called the tier 1 to tier 2, tier 3. You want to have a tier 1 panel. Now, the rating on panels, which means in a tier 1 rating, means that usually the manufacturer will suffice a 25-year panel production performance guarantee, meaning that the panel is going to perform exactly to the spec sheet that's always given to the customer as well. So these panels physically are built to last 40 plus years. The company, like for an example, most manufacturers' warranties come for a 12-year panel. I'm going to say maintenance. Your standard, I would say, refrigerator lifestyle, 12-year for any malfunctions, and 25-year production guarantee. Our company has a 30-year warranty that blankets all that, similar to an Assurion for your cell phone.
Yeah.
So everything off the truck, it's a 30-year production or 30-year guarantee for all the equipment. And there's more than just panels that go into the installation. So you also have a product called the inverter, which actually controls the entire system. Some are one cell, and some are actually micro inverters that go underneath the panels. You also have the hardware, the railing that goes underneath the panels, the mounting hardware. There's a lot that goes into it, right? So going to that here too is you want to carry a tier 1 panel, which our company carries nothing but tier 1. We carry, just as an example, LG panels, Panasonic, Aptos is a new one based out of California. We carry Mission Solar, which actually is built and manufactured in San Antonio. So we carry a variety of different panels to choose from. Hyundai is another one as well. They're all tier 1 rated panels. So maintenance, going back, I know you mentioned this earlier, maintenance, and we kind of jumped on the other
Yeah,
questions,
you're
but
coming around
there's
the
not
circle.
there's not much maintenance to them. As long as there's a rain every now and then, South Texas, we get rains every now and then. So as long as there's rain wiping off the dust or whatever debris in the air, or you can take a hose down there and go over with it. Or if you are OCD like me, sometimes you may want to get just a long squeegee to go up there and dust them off. That's really all that they require. There's not much else to it as far as maintaining the panel. So you don't have to take it for a tune-up. It doesn't require a tech to go up there and
Is it like,
recalibrate
I guess,
something.
kind of like how I just saw a commercial this morning when I was getting dressed for like AC. You know how
Mm-hmm.
an AC company will sell you some kind of maintenance. We'll come out there and look at your AC twice a year, make sure, and they're actually worth your money because maintaining your AC is how you avoid having to replace it sooner than you have to.
Of
But you're
course.
but you're saying on your panel, I guess it doesn't necessarily need their durable equipment, durable goods, where
Mm-hmm.
I guess no news is good news as long as it's collecting
Yep.
the energy and you look at your bill and it's collecting this amount of wattage.
Not only that too, but you have control of seeing what your panels produce on an app. There's two types of equipment that we carry. The brand is called Solar Edge, and the other one is called Enphase. Two of the top inverter companies in the nation, and they both have an application where you can track each panel performance, which usually the installation team and the support team goes over with you on how to set up the app, how to monitor the app, and of course they monitor it as well too. So if something goes down, they're aware of it, which doesn't rarely happen. But if it does, you have a monitoring. You can check exactly what you're producing from each panel.
That's That's true. I'm gonna have to, you're gonna have to send me an email and some information because, uh, I'm interested. I know, you
Mhm.
had mentioned, a friend of ours, Eddie Zapata, who I know
Correct.
known for over 20 years, and we were
Hmm.
played football together, so we were, real close. And I know that, anything that Eddie's getting behind, I was like, okay, let me, and then I seen you on Facebook and you promoting it, and I just really feel like now's the time. I think that experimental, where that first adapter type process, where there's certain people who like to be those first adapters. All they got the solar panels, right? There's always
Yep.
those people in the neighborhood who have it first, right?
Oh,
But
I
everybody
can't
else,
tell you how many stories I've had for that too.
right?
So, example, shout out to Eddie though, right? Eddie's a good friend of mine too. So he actually has panels on his roof. Okay.
Mhm.
I have panels on my roof. So if you ever look on my Facebook page, look at my marketing, you'll see I'll do live streams every now and then, or I'll show a production panel of what my panels are producing. So if it's something I get behind, he gets behind. You probably going to see all your neighbors because all it takes is for one person uh, to get the panels, and then you people start to ask questions about it
Yeah.
because many people just need someone to connect with to bridge that gap, just to answer general questions. It doesn't have to be complicated. It's buying versus renting.
Sure.
There's an end goal to pay it off. There's tax credits, very small maintenance. Okay. The loan itself, there's no prepayment penalty. So if you want to pay it off sooner, you
Mhm.
can. It's transferable. Also, a lot of people who actually also get solar actually roll it into their mortgage a few years down the line, right? They
Yeah,
do
you
a
can
refinancing.
refinance or something like, yeah, and get it in there. Yeah, I mean, I can see, the cool thing about this too is, your clientele, you're getting to work with homeowners who are
Mhm.
normally a little, uh, easier to work with because this is their property. They have a big investment in it too. So they want to make sure everything is, so I enjoy that being in sales myself, so I
Mhm.
see how it can be rewarding in selling these panels to people, selling panels because it's something that's needed. I love,
Yep.
I love, I'm in insurance. So insurance doesn't have like the best rep because most people hate having to pay for it, but it's not like I'm selling something that people don't need. Like, unfortunately, if you have a mortgage,
Everybody needs insurance.
you have to have
Yeah.
insurance. You have a car and you want to drive, it's the law. You're supposed to have insurance. I feel like, hey, I'm selling something that people have to have. And the great
Correct.
thing about what you're doing and what you're selling is that I really feel like it's something that people are going to have to have. I think 10, 15, 20 years from now, it's going to be much more commonplace that people have some type of alternative source of power gathering other than from what they get from, uh, the grid, whether
Speaking
it's
of the grid,
panels
yeah.
or windmills or some other alternative, green energy that we don't even know about
Correct.
yet. Uh, it's going to happen. And so I want to try to get ahead. One question that I'm sure you get from homeowners is,
Hmm.
you were talking about the panels themselves and the equipment and
Hmm.
the actual hardware in which you're insulating them, that they sit on. This is normally, um, attached and fixated to the roof, obviously, right? And
Yep.
so
You
it
could do a
is.
roof setup and ground mount.
Okay, and so it's mounted on the roof. The house that I saw this morning had a very steep pitch, and it had panels on it. So I'm
Hmm.
assuming, depending on the geometry of your roof, types of setups of how you're gonna put those panels on it, right?
Correct. So the steeper the roof, more than likely, the more panels you're going to need. So that's going to kind of offset what you're trying to save,
Yeah.
right? So best analogy I give customers, and it sounds silly, but it's true, right? Think about yourself sitting on the beach,
Okay.
right? You're trying to get a tan. You're sitting up like this, you're only going to get so much. The more you can recline back, the more sun you're going to get, right? You're sitting back like this, you get more hours of that sunlight on you. Same thing when you flip over, right?
Sure.
So the less steep your roof is, the better you're going to get quality out of your panels, maybe even not require as many. Yeah, there are times where I said, look, sometimes it doesn't make sense for people. So it doesn't make sense for everybody.
Mhm.
If it doesn't make sense for you, I'm going to tell you it doesn't make sense for you. So I've had two customers actually in the last 3 months. Their roof was too small. I couldn't fit enough to what their goal was. Their goal was to eliminate their entire bill, not just offset, like you mentioned, 40 or 50%. They wanted to eliminate everything. So be very transparent that, look, based off the roof size that you have right now, and there's fire coding too. So that's also permitting wise that, in certain peaks, the more peaks you have on your roof, the harder it's going to be to fit the panels on there, right? Because these panels are big. They're almost 5 to 6 feet long and maybe 3 feet wide. Some even longer, maybe 6.5 feet long. So you have to have the adequate space to put it onto your roof. So yeah, absolutely. Sometimes if it makes sense, it makes sense. If it doesn't, it doesn't. And just be very transparent with them that if it doesn't, this is the type of offset you're going to be able to offset your utility bill with.
I think I think that's another. I think that's a talking point for you. For yourselves, for anybody looking, or whether you're selling energy, or if you're a consumer too, that maybe also needs to put out there. Because I think everybody, of course, everybody's goal and dream would to be offset it. Oh, I don't have to pay it anymore. But if you're saving, just because you're not setting off the entire bill, it can still be paying for itself.
Correct.
Like if your bill to the loan company for your panels is $200, and the wattage that you're bringing in is saving you $200 plus on your bill, then it's paying for itself.
Exactly.
I mean, that's just as effective almost as, to me, the goal would always be to make them pay, have them paying for themselves over time, whether it's the whole bill or not. Here's a question.
Mm-hmm.
Because the panels are put on the roof, and it's not like you can just very easily take them off. All right.
Correct.
So let's say somebody says, I want to put panels on my roof, but actually my roof is like 20 years old and I probably need to replace it in the next couple of years. You probably don't want to then put the panels on. You probably want to put them on. You want to time it when maybe you've just put a new roof on, or you have a lot of years left on the roof. Because what happens when you do need to replace your roof and your panels are on there? You have to take them off and put them back on, right? Obviously.
Correct. So a couple things that you can do. So one, you can roll, like for an example, I had a customer just 2 months ago. They were kind of on the iffy phase, but they still wanted to move forward. So whenever you move forward with a solar panel system set up for your home, right, you set up everything. We go through the contracts, we go through the loan process. And then usually after the contracts are processed, we go through something called a site survey, where we actually have a surveyor go there within a week or two. And he's up there on your roof, looking at the shingles, measuring the roof line, putting chalk marks to try to give more accurate design on the roof line and actually show the homeowner what it is. So as soon as he saw the roof, he's like, look, this is a little old, and I think it was probably more than 20 years old. Okay. So you have a couple options: either get the roof replaced prior to installation, which you still have time to do if you want to, because usually for permitting, it does take a few weeks. So if you want to go out there, get a roof line, or call an insurance. You had a big storm that just rolled in too, right? Maybe there was hail, and maybe you want to file an insurance claim.
File an insurance.
There you go. File a claim and get a new roof for your deductible cost versus $10,000 to $15,000, right? That's another option. Or, there's an option to roll in the cost of a new roof into your solar loan. Now, of course, that's going to affect your payment, but at least you can have it all bundled in together.
So I know you offer this financing, but you can get financing however it comes by, if that's possible, right?
That is correct. Yeah, we do cash transactions and financing.
If you have enough equity in your house, you could possibly get a loan for the roof and the panels in one loan with your bank on a home equity loan or something like that.
That's very true. Absolutely. Absolutely.
What about What about steel roofs? Can they easily be attached to a steel roof? Because I think that's what I'm.
Yep. Steel, tile. We do have to use different hardware. It doesn't make the cost go up much at all, if anything. So we've done aluminum, steel, clay tile, flat roofs, different types of roofing. So that's perfectly fine as well. Also, I know I touched a little bit, but ground mounts are another option as well. You have some land that you want to put them on the ground versus on the roof, or I've had one customer that didn't want them.
Isn't that called like a solar farm, where you just have the farm,
well, it looks like a solar farm, but not as big, right? To a certain scale, right? So there are solar farms out there with over thousands of panels connected.
What I'm saying is, if I only had a couple of panels on the ground somewhere in my yard, I would tell everybody this was my solar farm. Okay. right?
Absolutely, sure.
My solar garden. That's what we'll call them.
There you go.
Solar garden out there. Okay, you know, I've seen those, and I've thought about that, and as we're talking, I'm picturing my own house right now, and the roof and all
Hmm.
this. So I think it's a good, you know, I have a normal hip roof, you know, medium pitches, slight pitches, so yeah, I think it's going to work just right. But again, I doubt most people knew about the pitching of your roof and the effectiveness of a solar panel. Your analogy
Hmm.
was spot on with the whole tanning.
Hmm.
Perfect.
Hmm.
I'm sure you've told, how many customers have you given that analogy to?
Oh, the ones that asked about the steep roof. I mean,
Quite a, quite a
in
bit.
most cases,
That's a great
in
analogy.
most cases, as
Well,
I say, sometimes it works for people, sometimes it doesn't. But yeah, steeper the roof, the more panels are going to be required. I will tell you this too. Here's a question I get a lot.
okay.
So as far as going to the roof lines, right? It's always recommended to put majority of your panels on the south part of the roof. That's where it gets the most sun, right?
Okay.
So you also have questions though, where do I put on my roof where I'm going to get the most bang for my buck, right? Kind of like which money, where do I put my numbers on the table at the casino, right? Which is going to give
Yeah.
me my best bang for my buck, right? Which slot machine is hot? So it's always on the south part of the roof, the southern part of the roof. Now that could be perfect because you may want them on the back of your home, or it may be spot in the front where you may or may not want it, but that's where you get your best bang for your buck. You get the most sunlight on the south part of your roof.
That's all going to be done in the, like you said, like the survey when they go out there and look at your roof, and they're going to see. You said they put chalk lines.
Oh, before that,
Even before that.
okay, so just to go through just an example of how to set up a proposal, right? So you say, Jonathan, I'm interested in solar. What do I got to do, right? Just send me a copy of your electric bill, something that has your usage if you can. And if not, I can pull that with certain information on your bill. Then usually within 24 to 48 hours, I'll ask a few questions about your home. And then I have a digital proposal. Everything's done via email, via Zoom call. I do everything online. Never had to go into anybody's house, considering what we're going through in the pandemic with COVID. So everything I can present to you, I can share my screen, and we have everything's digitalized where you're going to actually see your roof, and you're going to see a digital picture of your roof, almost looking straight down, and you're going to see an idea of where the panel placements are. And if you say, John, can you move some to this side, Sure. I have the option to edit and highlight in areas of where panels can fit and where they cannot fit. So you can see that prior. Now, the site survey is you're having someone physically there and say, hey, look, based off this is what I have. And usually it may work to your benefit because maybe they can fit 2 to 5 more panels on the south side because they actually got the ruler down and measuring tape, and maybe Google Earth or Google Maps or the software that they use wasn't as updated. So now, hey.
No, I get it. So, but that, you said the initial and the consultation and the technology you're able to use to view their roof and everything, you're going to have an amazing, informed to what you're getting before the guy shows up and is like, well, this is what we can do, or we're maybe one panel more, one panel less. Okay.
It's pretty spot on accurate. I'll tell you that much. If anything, it's just like you said, 1 or 2 panels off. That's going to maybe affect better production. It's usually never the opposite. So that the technology is amazing. When you can actually see your house, you're like, oh, that's my house. And you get to see digital imagery of certain panels in certain areas. And you're like, oh, wow, yeah, I can fit some there and I can fit some there. So yeah, you can see everything just from the proposal.
They can kind of visualize it and makes it real for them.
Exactly. Okay. Exactly. Like seeing furniture in the new home you're about to purchase, seeing your furniture, visualizing yourself on that product already or into that setup.
Okay. So you said normally, so a prospect, is there a website? Do you have an email, or is Facebook? Is there a particular landing place they can go to reach out to you if they're interested in a proposal? How does somebody give you a call, reach out to you?
I have a link I can send over to you, so we can post that on there. It's a direct link to a direct website where you upload your utility bill, general information, just first name, last name, email address, phone number. It goes to me directly. Okay. So you won't be getting calls from anybody else but me, if any, and through text messages. And then we start a dialogue from that standpoint, which I usually like to do immediately. Just ask questions on your home. So like you said, you mentioned, how old's your roof? What type of roof do you have? Ask questions about your service panel, your electrical panel, because that's a big factor in the installation process as well. And then we go from there, and I can usually have it back within 24 hours or less, 48 hours at the most. And then we'll set up a time to go over everything.
Great. Yes. Make sure you give me that link. We'll put it here on, we'll run it. I use iMovie, and we can use like a little tick,
Nice.
and it just ticks. It'll just go by over and over, like again, like a news station or something. So
Sweet.
well, great, Jonathan. I can't thank you enough for joining us.
Sure.
I don't know. I guess
Thanks for having me.
this was 30 minutes, real quick. You gave us. I feel like I know so much more about the solar and what I'm getting into if I'm interested. And we're gonna have that link. So it's real simple. And again, obviously, this is like no obligation, right? Like people just want some information. You go in there, you work it. They don't. It's not like some pre-approved credit card. Everybody at home.
No.
This isn't what's going on. All right.
No. Provide the information. Ask questions. Any questions that you like, and then you guys make the informed decision what works best for you and your family.
Because obviously, it's a huge investment for people. We're talking about a lot of money. So it's not one of these things that you just kind of jump into. You kind of have to take your time and thought, and deliberate. But that's why it's so good to work with a professional who can then also all these the answers to your questions. So they just need to reach out, because I know there's
absolutely
a lot of people out there who are just not informed on it. I have some kind of, preconceived notions of, I think that
exactly,
as somebody who's in this segment, in this market, I think that's in what we're doing right now is getting that word out. And once more people are kind of hip to what's going on, I think it's going to be an amazing market, big explosion. And, the market, the growth is just going to continue to go.
It has been. And going back to the outage, right? I know we touched base on that earlier, but you talked about increasing utility costs, which is huge, right? So over the last 20 plus years, right? And you can look up the documented size in Texas, our utility rates have increased on average between 4 to 8% per year. Okay. It doesn't look much, but when you take that over a 4 or 5 year span, what used to be $100 bill is probably 115 now, 110. And then it's just going to continue to increase. Okay. Especially you've seen with the outage, especially since we weren't prepared for that outage. The grid wasn't itself. But in a market, let's say South Texas, where AEP is huge, all over South Texas, you have less than 1% market penetration here. So it takes one person just to be able to understand how solar works, and then be able to expand. So I've done about 3 installations in Corpus just itself so far. I have a 4th and 5th one on the line, ready as well. But you're going to see it more exploding more now. And that the concept is just understanding it. Everyone thinks that I have to put so much money down, and it's going to cost so much. It's going to be more than what I'm paying now. And that's where, if it makes sense, it makes sense. If it doesn't, it doesn't. You're just offsetting your costs. You're not adding a whole nother bill on top. The goal is to offset your utility bill now, something you're already paying and will continue to pay. So this is the best analogy I like to look at. When you retire, right? Because everyone plans to retire someday. You're going to be stuck paying 3 things the rest of your life. 3. You're going to pay taxes. You're going to pay your water, and you're going to pay electricity. Right? You could pay off your mortgage, but Uncle Sam's going to want his yearly taxes, right?
If you want to have power, and what those things are never free. You always got to pay for them.
Exactly. So you built something that you have an end goal to, that's going to be producing power until that time frame and beyond. And now you have something set up for your family, whether it's for your immediate home or for a rental property too. I had 2 customers that did Airbnbs on that as well, set up solar for that Airbnb. Good tax write-off too. So keep that in mind too.
It's another interesting way that you put it, is that it really does become like a car that's paid off eventually. It's now an asset. It's no longer a liability. Now this is an asset that you own, that's bringing in something, which is, I think, a new concept for people. Nobody thinks of owning their own energy production somehow, right? And
Mhm.
as you put it, all the hurdles into all the barriers are starting to be reduced in terms of cost,
Correct.
in terms of, uh, and in addition to the barriers being reduced, now they're like giving you leg ups with incentives, tax credits, and all these other things. So I just feel like a couple of
Oh,
testimonials.
not to mention, I can't believe I didn't mention yet, sir. We have a promotion through the company right now to the end of March, March 31st. Okay. You sign up before the end of March 31st, you get 12 months of solar payments covered. 12-month promotion right now. It was huge. We ran this promotion last year. I think it started in June and got extended to August.
And is that through Power, or is that through one of the two
Yes,
finance people that you were going through?
that's through us directly.
All right.
That's directly through Power. So you sign up before the end. That means that you proceed to move forward, sign your contracts, get your loan documents in order. After installation, the company will mail you a check, usually within 2 to 3 weeks after installation,
Mhm.
for the exact 12-month cost of your solar payment.
Oh. Maybe that, I'll use that as a tagline on our YouTube video.
Yeah, I'll
Maybe
send you the link. I'll send you the flyer and everything. But
good.
yeah, that was huge. So
Yeah. Well, those are the
so
things.
for
I
an
mean,
example, yeah.
if I was heavily invested in solar and I'm thinking, you were talking about 1% market share, at some point, the big guns are like, listen, we just need to get these panels on people's houses. We need people to buy them, because then, like you said, then the neighbors see it, and eventually it'll all catch on. But it's just going to take some time. I think it's going to take some time, but I definitely want to get ahead. I definitely think you're like in the right thing at the right time. So
Absolutely.
good luck with that. Definitely am interested myself, not only as a consumer, but then maybe even as somebody who's in the business as a salesperson.
Consultant as well.
As a salesperson myself, definitely see the the advantages of it all around. Well, and it's great when you're in sales. It's great when you obviously you want to make a sell, because we're all trying to make money, make money, make a living, right? But at the same time, when you're able to sell somebody a product that helps them and they're happy with it, and they
Helps
tell
the
you,
environment, gives them an end goal.
they refer you to somebody, kind of thing, it feels good. It's better than when you're selling timeshares to 80-year-old people or something. You know what I'm saying? It's
Oh,
like,
I didn't tell you about our referral program too.
all right, tell us, referral program.
So our program, we have something called an ambassador program. Okay. Let's just say it's someone who understands just the general concept of solar. Okay.
Mhm.
Maybe they did or did not go solar, but they understand the concept of it and they want to be involved in some form. Many of my solar ambassadors are my previous clients that have already installed solar. So it's a referral system. Anyone that they refer me that signs up and installs, they get $1,000
Yeah.
per referral. Great system,
Oh,
great
that's
incentive
another.
cycle.
We're gonna put that on. That'll be on there as well. $1,000. Well, referral. Here's the link. Send them this way. All right, Jonathan. Can't thank you enough for taking the
Yeah.
time to join me here at Jamin's Daily. We're gonna get this up. Very few edits, so hopefully we can get this up today, tonight, tomorrow at
Yeah.
the latest, and I'll be sure to send you the video, and again, thanks for joining us, folks at home.
Yeah.
Be on the lookout for Jonathan. You can find him on Facebook, right? Jonathan Morales.
Mhm.
We'll find you.
Yep.
What if they just Google Jonathan Morales and they put Power on their Google? I mean, they can.
I haven't done that yet. But may or may not.
May or may
I
not. Well,
mean,
we're gonna find out. There's
I'm on Facebook, on Instagram, Snapchat. So I'll put all my links. I'll send them over to you
Yes, send me an
for my
email with all
handles
your
and
contact.
whatnot.
And
Yeah.
and folks, again, I'm glad. I hope you learned something today. There's something about solar. If you have any questions, you can send them out Jonathan's way, you can always email us here at jamesdaily@gmail.com. I want to thank you for joining us. Stick with us because the best is yet to come.